100 in the front and the 60 in the rear. It's also worth noting that you have, I think within the packet there, a letter of support and justification from the community, from the HOA of the neighborhood. We've met with them a number of times. They're very much in favor of this project. I also have what is not in that packet, but you can see on the aerial there, the property that is immediately adjacent behind this property is the golf course there at Longview. Fortunately, we're talking a pond, and then there's a golf cart path, so no structures or any of that kind of stuff. However, I realize it's not necessarily required, but I do have email copies of it. I'll give you guys if you would like, and forward them electronically if you as well. But the owning entity is owned by Mel Graham, the golf course there, and he sends his emails of support and support of this variance, and he sees no reason to have any issue with it whatsoever. So the neighboring properties that would even potentially be impacted are in support of this variance. And also of note, it's hard to tell on that imagery there, but right along the rear property line that is adjacent to the club at Longview are evergreen trees the entire length of that property line, and they are 25 to 30 feet tall. So there will literally be almost zero visual and certainly zero physical impact to any neighboring property on this. It will allow a home that is in keeping with the caliber of the neighborhood and also maintain the front setback that is required by that. And we certainly appreciate your consideration. Happy to entertain any questions.
This is on R60,
Correct.
and at one point in time, the town required a 40-foot setback, like we do now on R40.
So what I would state is that the HOA requirements are more restrictive in the front yard and less restrictive in the backyard. So the current HOA standards are 100-foot setback in the front and 40 in the rear. In R60, the number is kind of easy to remember because for the R60 zone, as it's currently adopted, let's say as of 2021 when the UDO was adopted, it's 60-foot front setback, 60-foot rear setback.
But I think to answer your question, when the property was platted originally and when the appropriateness of the front yard setback was contemplated as it was platted, it was with a 40-yard rear setback in mind, which is what the current zoning was at that time.
So the HOA was causing you the problem, the HOA rule in the front?
The HOA rule, which was there originally, prescribes a 100-foot setback, again, with the understanding at the time when that 100 was prescribed, that it was a 40 in the rear. And frankly, not that prohibitive on almost every lot in this community. It's a pretty unique scenario. You can see right there, almost every lot in there is very deep, and it made sense to have a 100-foot setback. Probably one of the reasons why this property was one of the remaining lots is because it's prohibitive in this way. Without,
The HOA says okay, and then you got some kind of document from them?
yes, sir, it's actually in the packet.
Okay.
No, the HOA did not give him relief.
Did not.
Did not.
And forgive me, perhaps I misunderstood. The HOA would be in favor of this variance.
They didn't want to give up their 100 foot, but they would be in favor.
So
Yeah.
So question, does the HOA or just the town, which trumps the?
The most restricted.
Yeah, well, we have to hear both. Or, yeah, whatever's most restricted.
So what the town can do, and what the Board of Adjustment can do is grant the variance conditional upon reaching conclusions on our UDO. And so what we have to determine tonight is if the hardship, if there is a hardship, number one, if the hardship would result from a strict application of the UDO, if it results for conditions that are peculiar to the lot. It doesn't matter if they were there when he bought the lot, when the owner bought the lot, to do about them. It's just other hardships a result of that peculiar dimensional lot, as they said. It didn't result from any actions taken by the homeowner. And the requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the regulation. So, you all can vote on whether or not to grant this variance. And you also have to determine that it's less than 50% of the allowable variance, which would be half of the 60 feet, so 30 feet, so it can't be more than 30 feet. So we have to make a determination on A, B, C, D, and those determinations are yours to make. So you should discuss each one, go over it, and then we vote on each one of those. They all have to pass with a 4/5 majority, and then we have to vote on the whole thing.
Let me ask you one more question about the HOA. So if the HOA said, hey, we're gonna give you leeway in this 100-foot in the front, you could have 60 in the back, right? In the rear. I think if they gave you relief in the front from the 100-foot requirement, then you could have the 60-foot setback that's required for an R60.
It would depend upon how much relief.
Well, I mean, that would give you what you would need. It would give you what you need. It wouldn't give you less than that. That would be useless, right? So if they drop their requirement to 80 feet in the front, that would give you additional 20 feet in the rear, and you'd be able to make the zone.
They have not been willing to drop the requirement.
Am I correct? We're talking.
Have you approached him?
Absolutely.
We're talking 12 feet, 11
The request,
feet, 8 inches.
the request is to reduce the setback by 20 feet.
Yeah.
So still less than half of the 60. The request is for 20. You're right, that right about 12 feet should be almost exactly what would suffice, but it'd be a shame to be granted a variance and then blow it by like an inch or something, so.
So again, on that part, the hardship and strict application, it would be maybe he would come in and ask for 12 feet, but instead he wants for 20 feet.
No, I understand that, and that's fine.
And then it looks like it's coming from more of the HOA's
Yeah.
restrictive covenants than our town's zoning regulations, which we can't solve their restrictive covenants.
All due respect to that comment, their setbacks were in place prior to the UDO in 2021, when this rear setback was 40 feet.
Have you checked if there were any other homes in the neighborhood that were less than 100 feet?
I'm almost all the way certain there are none. There have been multiple times we've sought a variance from the HOA on the front, including 506 Lansbury.
512 Meadowbrook.
Was that,
512 Meadowbrook.
and I'm not familiar with that property.
It's in the cul-de-sac, similar to you. Looks like they're 80 feet from the right of way. So I was wondering if the HOA gave them a variance versus getting the variance because they're closer.
I'm not sure, was that a measurement on the GIS?
Correct.
I've measured a few of those and you can see how like the purple was not exactly lined up with that red sometimes GIS. I'm not saying that that's incorrect, but it can be hard to rely upon those GIS measurements.
I was just curious if you did homework to find out if there was any violating 100 before you came to us.
I'm not aware of any.
And what about, I mean, what were the reasons why the HOA would change?
Because there's a tangible aesthetic impact to homes, some homes adhering or not adhering to a front setback versus the rest of them adhering to it. I don't believe there's a tangible, visible, perceivable impact to the variance in the rear in this case.
And so did you discuss with them that they're okay with the variance in the rear? They're okay with the change of dimension in the rear, the HOA?
Correct.
They don't care as long as they get their 100 feet in front.
It might not be that broad, but yes, sir, that's correct. They provide a letter in support.
Are all of the lots in that subdivision plot with 100-foot front and 40-foot?
Yes, sir, there are a few different variations relative to corner lots, like there is in many neighborhoods where setbacks are kind of also in certain cases like that, but that's correct. Every lot in the neighborhood is platted with the same guidelines and restrictions.
Has any construction started on this yet?
No, sir. Like I said, very, very similar situation at 506 Landberry, just in the last few years where we were able to successfully get a variance for the rear setback. what I'd say in that scenario is, there was actually a neighboring property within the neighborhood that 506 Linbury backs up to, it would be granted. So it was actually getting closer to another neighbor within Walden and Providence. That neighbor did write a letter to express their support or, you know, non-opposition to it. So I would contend that this is actually less obtrusive to any potential neighbors than that.
The, again, these are case by case.
Mhm.
There's no precedent on that part, but let's say this was denied, what would be the size and placement of the home on this lot now? How dramatically different is it?
You know, with a denial, we land right around 60 feet from front to back, which for a home of the caliber that frankly, and again, it was Dr. Kerm's choice, but the market establishes what property values are. But for what this property sells for, and for what is in keeping with new homes being built in this neighborhood, it would be incredibly prohibitive to be able to build a home of that caliber in that depth.
What's the structure that goes into that 60-foot setback from that?
That is a covered, it's a part of the home, part of the structure, but it's a outdoor living, non-conditioned, but outdoor living space, which is an enormous part of the
Patio with the
Floor plan.
covered.
Sure. Yes, sir. We have, and Karen will tell you, we've gone back and forth from the drawing board with the architect very many times to accomplish what the intent is for this home, to try not to have to seek a variance for this.
So alternative designs were considered during this?
Oh, yes, sir. Many.
So can you summarize for us again, there's 3 items we have to vote on.
Or
There's 4.
One,
Yeah, you want to start on each one?
yeah.
It's a hardship.
So the first item you have to do, and we need motions on each of these, is was there a hardship that resulted from the strict application of the regulation? The motion should be made in the affirmative, so that everybody votes on vote totally. We need 4/5 on each one to carry the motion.
Okay, so can you summarize what the hardship is?
Yes, sir. The unique quality of this particular property relative to its neighbors, you know, upon which all these restrictions apply, the unique depth and being situated in the cul-de-sac of this, it causes the depth, or I guess lack thereof, to be prohibitive to be able to build a home of the caliber that is warranted on a property like this in a neighborhood like this.
So that sounds financial.
So, yeah, so you're saying it's a financial hardship.
No, I didn't say financial. I think that it's reasonable to expect that someone should be able to build a home of similar caliber as their neighbors based upon the restrictions that are in that neighborhood. I don't mean
Saying
caliber,
on an acre and a half, you cannot do that per design.
not at that depth. No, I mean, it can be a mile wide, but at that depth, it's prohibited.
So just a reading of A, is the end of it, the second sentence, it shall not be necessary to demonstrate that in the absence of the variance, no reasonable use can be made of the property. So you don't have to come to that conclusion.
Right.
Just that it's a hardship as resulting from the strict application.
I personally feel like on this one, that it's described is largely coming from the HOA, not the town's zoning regulation. And the design constraint is basically more encumbered by the private restriction, which is where, I don't know if we want to get in, I mean, does our 60-foot really create the hardship here versus the 100? And there's, again, other homes I would venture to say that if we were to test the theory, or some even look at this, which I wish we had it on the thing. That one's a 50. This is the one I was referring to, this brand new. that's in the cul-de-sac, I would say it's very similar. That measurement is this.
That's the side setback?
Yeah, I'm saying
To
the
the
front.
front? Okay,
And again, it is, you don't use a lot from surveyor, we're going to use like that telephone pedestal, is probably where that iron is. So I'm measuring, just trying to get an idea to see if it is 100. And I would say that GIS is a little bit off, but at 82 feet, I would venture to wonder, is it? As the HOA gave them relief on that one, if there was ever been relief given from us bending kind of hardship. And then again, I know he's saying the hardship is the house, the lot depth, but it's 11 or 12 feet. So I just find that hard right here, if that's the deal breaker of,
11 feet acre.
yeah, building a nice home. And what he's saying, I think, more aligns with the peculiar part of the property, the cul-de-sac, the depths, that part, but the hardship part is what, going to that strict application of our ordinance is. So, I mean, he even alluded to it, which is what I would say we don't want to kind of do, is like, even though it's case by case, but imply that there is a precedent to be set that another case got granted similar to this in the neighborhood as to why this one should be, because then everybody that wants a reduction starts to show up and ask for the reductions.
The hardship isn't coming from the township, the hardship is coming from the.
And we can't rectify a deed restriction.
But we can still determine it a hardship in that, to build a house there.
That ours was the reason why
No,
they can't.
not ours.
That's what we have to say. We can't say anything about deed restrictions. We can only
Right.
control the zoning.
Right, but he wants to build a house there, and he wants to, a variance from our restrictions.
Due to the strict application of it. It's not like because you want to build, 9,000 square feet versus 8,500. It should be,
Yeah, but I mean.
why is our 60-foot making this lot not buildable?
If-
And
if-
not buildable might not be the right word, but not,
Well, there's a hardship here, and it's the HOA doesn't want to
we
ban.
can't resolve that hardship.
No, I'm not saying we're gonna resolve that, but what I'm saying is that, we can change the zoning from, of a setback, to give him relief from that.
So the area that is outside of the setback, that's an outdoor living area? You said-
Part of the primary structure, still part of the main house, but you're right, it's not heated square footage up there.
So what's the large portion, if you go above proposed,
Mhm.
what inside is that within the house?
That's all like, great room, whatever, great room, living room, that kind of space, kitchen.
So you could spin that sideways and make the outdoor living space half as deep. And not, you're not impacting any bedrooms or anything like that, so, that would be doable, right?
There's a lot of configurations that would dimensionally be doable, but not,
This is an acre and a half size lot. It's not a 20,000 square foot lot.
I-
20,000 square
That's
foot.
why
Well,
strict application is
I
hard to get
understand.
behind.
And if you were making the outdoor living, outside of a bedroom, but you're making, the outdoor living is going outside of the indoor living. So, being wide instead of deep, I think you could just to me, that,
Well, we got a resident before us that wants to build something on an acre and a half piece of property. Right? And he's got 50 feet of set, he's proposing what? A little bit under 50 feet of setback, right?
So
It's not 60, actually the build is gonna be 12 feet or so.
he's asking for 40 feet reduction.
well, no.
He's asking for 20
20 foot
reduction.
reduction,
That's
20
before,
foot.
that's before.
40-foot setback of 60.
Right, that's what he's asking for, but he's really only, what's the actual use?
Yeah, it's 11 foot to the outside of that, around 12 feet.
Well,
Most variances will come in wanting the minimum. Again, this is and I hate to stress it, but like when it's a quasi judicial thing, it can't be a fill-in thing. It's a strict facts. Did our 60-foot impair him from building a house that can be in that neighborhood? And if the outdoor living space, to Scott's point, is saying that instead of it being deep, it could be elongated, then strict application of our ordinance didn't affect him. Now, we should not be penalized that a strict application of his homeowners association doesn't want to give him any help.
Right.
Then throw it on our table, which is where I'm saying it sets the kind of, hey, we wanted to build it, yeah, we should let it go kind of thing. And
Well,
that
no, I
sets
mean,
the
I just don't
wrong.
know how much we're being penalized. That's just what I have to find, that's what I'm challenged.
But I would say that we have put a lot of sweat equity into the new UDO and getting things tight for everybody, that applies across the board. And then I feel like when someone's coming and asking for something from a variance, that at least show the hardship. And I could maybe make an argument on some of these other ones, because you got to get a yes on every single one of them. That in this situation, it's hard for me to wrap my hand around this lot to have all kinds of issues that he can't build. He was just literally showing maybe 20 by 30 wide area that's really in conflict. So I would have been more receptive to say, okay, I'm coming in asking for a 12-foot reduction. But he's showing 12 and asking for 20, and where's our strict application kind of creating all this?
So you're saying, ask for what you need.
If you're gonna ask for something, yeah, instead of,
well, the applicant can change the application and ask for less if the board is willing to go along with that. That's something you can do tonight.
I understand, just for clarification as to why the request was for the 20 is because I do understand that what we're saying is that the neighborhood's front setback is what is kind of the more prohibitive at 100, where the rear is at 60. It is true, though, that the blanket application of the R60 as of 2021 being applied to every single neighborhood, I think, is the reason for proceedings like this, because it might apply to different situations, especially in the scenario where previously existing neighborhood restriction of 100 feet on a very uniquely shallow property such as this, perhaps it's and the neighborhood restrictions, neither are exactly combined in this particular case. I think that's why you have proceedings like this, because there are unique circumstances.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. We didn't cause this, our ordinances didn't cause this.
and cul-de-sacs are not uniquely,
Right,
that's
right.
conditions everywhere.
But you could have, in theory, you could have the DOT cause a hardship. You could have hardship.
But in theory, we're here with these facts.
What you're asking is not grant a variance to your specific situation, which is basically you need a 12-foot variance. You're asking us to acquiesce to the platted setback will be.
But we're certainly willing to amend or whatever the right process is. If 12 foot, excuse me, if requesting a 12-foot variance is a more agreeable request versus what felt like a simple request to adhere to the prior setback, I completely understand, and that allows Beppe Curran to, build a home. And I understand that it's not necessarily a financial hardship, but I think it's relative to note that we are talking about a property and homes and a neighborhood that are of a certain caliber, and I think it's.
I'm not arguing that, but you just said it yourself, that every case that comes up against a deed restriction in a new R60 setback should be in front of us asking for some relief or some sort, because they're all gonna be unique. And cul-de-sacs have never been unique.
I think when you combine the cul-de-sac with it's already, if you zoom out to the others, it's very clearly far more shallow than I've allowed on that screen. And then when you combine it with the cul-de-sac, I think that's when it becomes prohibited. It's
But our current zoning was perfect. You could fit into the current zoning. You just can't fit to the most restrictive of the HOA, who obviously said they're good to not bend. So go to Weddington and ask them to,
Right. And
correct?
Yeah, and that's exactly what their letter says. It says, hey, we're okay with Weddington changing their zoning, but we're not changing yours.
So coming back to our first issue we have to vote on.
I think you're still determining whether or not this is a hardship.
From the
That's
strict
the
application.
strict application of our regulation, and that may be aside from the HOA restriction on the two.
So if.
You've got four things to decide, that's the first.
So you would be looking for a recommendation in the affirmative.
So no, you vote in the affirmative, yes or no, so the motion would be in the affirmative, so we know which way you voted.
Let's make it,
So-
Just to make it clear. Yeah, that's how you would structure your motion. You know, and I'll just give you an example. Does the strict application to UDO in this property create a hardship, yes or no? That's an affirmative motion. It's in the affirmative because we need a yes or no. Otherwise, it gets confusing on how you voted.
So we still got to determine if it's a 20-foot hardship or a 12 and some change hardship.
Well, you can make that recommendation. This is only whether or not a hardship would result from the strict application of the UDL, which is the 60-foot setback.
we're looking for a motion
That's what
from
you're
a
looking for.
standpoint.
Yeah,
That
so,
this creates a hardship. Even if a person makes that motion,
you can vote yes or no.
yeah, can still vote against it. But
Absolutely.
we want to get a motion on the table, which is what I'm trying to do here.
And I'm not trying to state that it's one way or the other. You can say there's a hardship. That's what the debate about all this is. It's just making sure that we're giving everybody the same treatment, because he just said, well, this caliber of house. That doesn't separate from the next person that doesn't have this caliber of house.
That's right,
To your point.
but if this, the next person could be on a 20,000 square foot lot, and they may need 3 feet,
Correct,
you know? So it's not us, we didn't cause that problem,
correct.
you know?
I think part of this one too, it says that no reasonable use can be made of the property, and I think that there is still reasonable use.
It actually says the opposite.
Yeah, it says,
Yeah, that's not.
it shall not be necessary to demonstrate that no other reasonable use is on the neighborhood lot.
Someone want to make a motion on this?
This can.
Number one?
I'd like to say something before.
If you're gonna speak, you're welcome to, but that's for you.
Yes,
Every sworn in.
that's fine.
And just state your name and address for the record.
Gibran Kavam, 1621 Lookout Circle, Watson.
Okay, and Kara, do you have the spelling?
I've got it in the,
Jan.
I've got it in the paperwork. Thank you, Mr. Karam.
Do you swear on the Bible?
Yes.
Okay. Would you place your right hand on the Bible? And your left hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, you can testify.
I do appreciate very much your time. I do appreciate very much your time. I have been a resident in Charlotte since 15. And I currently live in PDS. I love the area and I would love to continue to be in this area. I purchased this lot in January of last year. And it has taken a year and a half to get here. I understand everything you said, and you have all the right not to open any door for anybody who wants to take advantage of situation and to build the house the way he wants. It's not that. We have been with Arcadia since last summer, trying to figure out how we manage around this lot. Yes, we can build a house on a 1.5 acre lot, but at this point, when you try to build something and you're putting that much effort in it, you want it to be the way you want it to be. Like, I understand, we can do the porch in front of the living room, but that's a hardship, because when I bought that on 1.5 acres, I would like that house to be the way, when you have some porch obstructing this great view. This is why I'm leaving from my house, because I don't have enough light because the porch is exactly in front of the great room. I am not trying to say that there were no other ways, but you need to trust us and you have the engineer to testify to that. I would not be exaggerating if we did not have 6 or 7 different ways. We still are not done with the HOA there. We have put the garages, front doors and side doors, and we tried everything we could. This is the only way we can do the house this way. So my definition of the hardship is honestly, if you guys are not granting us, there's a big question that we will be able to build the house, period. Because we tried everything else. I mean, I think I have the right, not at least me and my wife, to have the right to have, to do what we want without hurting anybody. And we paid very attention to that. We asked for probably, sir, what you're talking about, the little variance. And we asked the HOA, we may be talking about something that they said, well, when this house was for a 10% building error, we refused to do a building error. We told them exactly that we give us the 90. We're not going to do a building error and then come back late. We're not those kind of people. And we asked the HOA, and they could not give us that. And we tried every single way. We've been with the HOA for 6-7 months. So at this point, we really felt that if the Longview are okay with that, if we are not hurting anybody, the backyard is just trees. What we're asking for 12 or 20 is just to make sure that we have a little more room to breathe because of that, and we're not hurting anybody. But yes, definition of hardship, honestly, it will be a hardship for me and my wife. To dream of this house and to work for the last year and a half and now question if we can build it the way we can. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that, the hardship exists. I guess in relation to our zoning ordinances.
Okay.
Is that what we're saying?
Do you have can you read?
No, I'm afraid of it, sure. So Steve, you want to make a motion that a hardship would result from the strict application of the regulation?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All opposed? I'm opposed. So,
So we've got 5 members voting, I'm sorry.
yeah, all right, let's do it again. Get your hands up strong.
So in favor of the motion?
All in favor of the motion? 2. All opposed to the motion? 3.
Okay, the motion fails. And we can go on to D.
Okay, let's be,
Hardship results from the conditions that are peculiar to the property, such as location, size, topography, the dimensions of the lot, etc.
okay, someone want to give a motion on that one? Basically saying the hardship is related,
This is the peculiar of the property, and I
right,
do feel that they need this. So I make a motion to say that the uniqueness and peculiar of the property, however you want to word that, but that given the lot size, dimensions, is peculiar to the property.
I'll second the motion.
okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So that passes.
See? The hardship didn't result from any action taken by the application or the property owner, or the applicant of the property owner, sorry.
This one I would probably circle back around to even his statement on record too, that while the lot is peculiar, it looks like the design constraints of what he would want doesn't fit in the package of the thing. So maybe the neighborhood aesthetics is definitely understandable, but the house size and layout doesn't necessarily constitute a zoning hardship. There is still designs that could be done, I believe, that wouldn't be self-created, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
You make a motion, Chris?
In the positive. Someone wants to-
Affirmative.
It's just an affirmative motion, you vote yes or no.
Motion that, how is it worded, the self-created,
Hardship didn't result from the action taken by the applicant or the property owner.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, we got a second? All in favor? Say aye. 2.
Wait, I'm confused. It's the motion, sorry. This is the hardship did not result.
Yeah, the hardship did not result from any actions taken by the applicant.
It's on the screen if you guys see.
If you can see that part,
So
okay.
voting, yes.
You're saying yes, it
Not
did.
Result, sorry, it's just
Right.
confusing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yay, nay?
sorry.
All in favor? 2. All opposed? 3. So that fails.
And last one. Requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and the intent of the regulations, such as public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved.
I'll make the motion.
second.
All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4.
But
All in favor?
zero, so,
Here, exactly what we're voting on here.
Is that,
The affirmative.
well, for the variance to be granted, A, B, C, and D all have to pass. And we have 2 to 2. So the variance request is failed.
The variance request is denied. Okay. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion adjourned.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Adjourn.
All right, guys, I am truly sorry.